Imagine you were chilling 1400s.
Hell yeah.
It's the midst of the Dark Ages, and your life is probably pretty dull. Because of the bubonic plague, average life expectancy has now dipped to below 40, and you want to leave a lasting impact on the world. A mysterious legacy that will leave generations of people obsessively studying your work with no solution in sight. The result? The Voynich Manuscript.
Welcome to Little Laughs. Thank you for joining us. This is our third Little Laughs, little short snippets that don't fall into a particular season or a theme, but they're good, they're fun, they're quick. Let's get right into this one. The Voynich Manuscript. Never heard of it?
Not familiar.
Not familiar. 1400s. Bubonic plague. Yikes.
Hey, you know this is a random rant. I probably go on once every other season, but like, dude, that time period.
You wouldn't want to go back?
Brutal.
Not a care in the world?
Brutal.
So many cares, probably.
It's called like the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
Sucks.
The Voynich Manuscript was named after Wilfrid Voynich, a Polish book dealer who purchased it in 1912. It's an illustrated book handwritten on sheets of vellum paper, which is calf skin. Cool. Gross. The paper has been carbon dated to sometime in the 15th century, with most historians agreeing it was likely written sometime in Italy during the Italian Resistance. Some of the pages are missing, with around 240 remaining. The text is written from left to right, and most of the pages have illustrations or diagrams.
Huge.
Some pages can be taken out and unfolded into sheets. What? Like a pop-up book?
Sure.
But what's so interesting about this particular book, Jake?
It's a good question. That's why we're here.
The entire book is written in a completely unknown writing system. The only ancient book of its kind to exist.
This is quacktastic. I know you're going to be lost.
So like a guy just made up his own language, like, you know, some like Star Wars nerd wrote a book in some language he invented.
Somebody
and, like,
doodled, and now we're...
The universe, what does this mean? They're like, that was my brother George. He was dumb as fuck.
Someone had too much poppy one day, and they just started writing.
Yeah. Invented Klingon, you know, before Klingon was invented.
I mean, this is literally not every kid's dream, but every kid... like making up their new language and the decoder and things like that. Yeah. Great.
The book has been studied by cryptographers for hundreds of years, including some of the most well-known American and British code breakers in World War I and World War II. Despite this, the manuscript has never been demonstrably deciphered, and the 600-year-old mystery of its meaning and origin has excited the popular imagination. Hundreds of theories have been proposed, and none of them have ever been able to be verified or proven. What are we doing here?
So
we're paying people to study this gibberish?
I think the bigger thing is, and hey, man, I mean, if they figure something out, I mean, you're looking at Rosetta Stone type stuff, right? Potentially. And I mean, we've now have our first image of the pages, and I mean, it looks really well put together.
I mean, you don't go get lambskin or whatever it was. Right. Well, I'm out of internet, so I can't search things.
Okay. Well, you don't need to search things.
Well, I wanted to see that picture bigger to put it on the screen for everyone, but whatever, do it later. I think I might lose the document. Anyway, here we go. Yeah, there's like circle, like there's flowers.
We've got two pages of pretty good circular like graph action.
Yeah.
And then we've got one like what looks like a really well-written page of its day. left to right, paragraphs.
I get it now. After seeing these pages, I get, this is something.
This is something you'd like to think.
Yeah.
Or a hellacious prank.
Every page in the manuscript contains text, mostly in an unidentified language, but some have extraneous writing in Latin script. The bulk of the text in the 240-page manuscript is written in an unknown script, running left to right. Most of the characters are composed of one or two simple pen strokes. Some dispute exists as to whether certain characters are distinct, but a script of 20 to 25 characters would account for virtually all of the text. The exceptions are a few dozen rarer characters that occur only once or twice each. There is no obvious punctuation. Wow, no punctuation? 25 characters, like that's an alphabet.
Right.
And maybe some have tildes and shit, and they're
There's
like,
the appeal
there's
there.
that.
Yeah. Or they're just poorly written, which is kind of funny.
Sloppy. Yeah.
Imagine how many hours people that are into this have eyed stuff and looked at it to debate whether a letter is just sloppily written or a rare letter.
If the guy who wrote this came back to life.
Sure.
And told the people who were studying it what it was, I think it would be so dissatisfying.
I think that's part of the risk. I think that's the part of the risk of the job.
There are no indications of any errors or corrections made at any place in the document. They don't know that. The handwriting flows smoothly, giving the impression that the symbols were not enciphered. There is no delay between characters, as would normally be expected in written encoded text. From today's understanding, the illustrations were used to divide most of the manuscript into 6 different sections. Section 1, Herbal and Pharmaceutical Drawings. Section 2, Astronomy and Astrology. Section 3, Lots of figures, mostly showing small nude women, some wearing crowns, many bathing in pools or tubs connected by an elaborate network of pipes. That makes sense, because you do astronomy or astrology, and you're like, fuck that, I need something fun.
I disagree with you. I mean, I'm not a big book guy, but the first 3 chapters, like if someone was trying to hook me with a book and they're like, all right, 1, Herbals and Pharmaceuticals. Okay, not hooked. 2, Astronomy and Astrology. 3, lots of figures, mostly nude women, some wearing crowns. I'm like, okay, if we're going to lump those in the same book, I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you spend a month writing about astrology, the next chapter, you're going to be like, I need something a little change of pace.
Who said it was a month?
Let me just draw figures. Yeah, it was like an hour because he didn't pick up his pen, apparently.
It's all free-flowing.
The 4th section was circular drawings of an obscure nature.
Saw those, we think.
The 5th was isolated individual parts of plants. What?
Yeah.
6, mostly text, only a small star in the left margin of every page. Okay, so we have some pictures of the naked chicks here.
Looks like they're sharing a tub, not what I pictured.
Yeah, they're all in one giant tub. We got like an aqueduct or something, like pouring the water in. That's cool. And yeah, it's just a bunch of doodles. The overall impression given by the surviving leaves of the manuscript is that it was meant to serve as a pharmacopoeia or to address topics in medieval or early modern medicine, especially related to plants and the natural world. However, the puzzling details of illustrations and the dark nature of many of the drawings have fueled many theories about the book's origin, the contents of its text, and the purpose for which it was intended. 4 main theories have been proposed as to the background behind the writing. Okay, theory number 1. The only remaining piece of writing of an undiscovered natural language. Statistical analysis of the text reveals patterns similar to those of natural languages. For instance, the word entropy, about 10 bits per word, is similar to that of English or Latin text. In the most well-known study of the manuscript looking at the connections and clusters of words, they found that 90% of the writing is similar to those of other known books such as the Bible, indicating that the book is an actual piece of text in an actual language and not well-planned gibberish.
Sure.
Okay. Theory number 2. A constructed language only known by a few,
Ooh.
which is what we were kind of saying.
This is kind of the dream. So, well, I'll see what the other options are, but I think the geeks who are into this world, the dream is to find, like,
a new language.
this was not a new language, but an elite language. Like almost Illuminati language.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Where was this? Where did Italy?
I think Italy in the 1400s.
Because France, for a long time, was just little villages that all spoke their own language. Like, you couldn't travel through France, and same with Italy. Oh, today France is something like that. Like, you couldn't go from, like, 10 miles, and you'd be in a whole new fucking world.
Dialect
basically.
languages.
Yeah. A constructed language known by only a few. The concept of a constructed language is quite old, but it still postdates the generally accepted origin of the Voynich Manuscript by nearly 2 centuries. In most known examples, categories are subdivided by adding suffixes as a consequence. A text in a particular subject would have many words with similar prefixes. For example, all plant names would begin with similar letters, and likewise for all diseases. This feature could then explain the
Repetitious.
repetitious nature of the Voynich text. However, no one has been able to assign a plausible meaning to any prefix or suffix in the Voynich manuscript, and this would be the earliest proven constructed language in history. I'm kind of out on that one.
Earliest proven constructed language in history. Doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
That one's the coolest scenario. If there's like a book made about it where it's like this secret sect of herbal doctors that their like medicine is outlawed and they need to find a new way to converse with each other, so they made this book that they understand.
Secret society.
Yeah, I like one better than that. That, like, it's just it's like a undiscovered tribe. Like,
They can link together a little bit.
Yeah,
There's some overlap.
Theory number 3 is my favorite.
Sure.
A planned hoax. The unusual features of the Voynich manuscript text, such as the doubled and tripled words that aren't seen in any modern language and the suspicious contents of its illustrations, support the idea that the manuscript is a hoax. In other words, if no one is able to extract meaning from the book, then perhaps this is because the document contains no meaningful content in the first place.
This is the biggest win for the author. If there was someone who said, I'm so bored,
Yeah.
I'm going to make a prank book that I hope gets out there in the future, and people toil, is that a word? Spend time trying to figure this
as like
out,
a
'cause they've
doodler,
won.
you know, like, I used to draw pictures in tiny circles, and people do that now. It's like an art form, like,
Sure.
just tiny circle. I would fill up an entire binder page with tiny circles, and there would be a picture
Pictures
within
in
the
the
picture,
circles.
you know, like darker circles, lighter. And that's like kind of what I think, in a very more intense way.
A little bit. I mean, we have some clear writings.
Yeah. Glossolalia. Glossolalia, which is speaking in tongues. The author may have felt compelled to write large amounts of text in a manner which resembles a stream of consciousness, either because of voices heard or because of an urge. This often takes place in an invented language in glossolalia, usually made up of fragments of the author's own language. The illustrations in the manuscript also lend a hand to a theory of delusion at the hands of the author. However, this theory is virtually impossible to prove or disprove short of deciphering the text. That's every theory. That's all of them. In the end, though, the manuscript may simply be an unsolved mystery. The maddening nature of it is that it looks and feels so solvable, yet continues to escape any translation despite hundreds of years of scrutiny. Robert Richards, a historian of science and cryptology at the University of Chicago, sums up the feelings for himself and many who have studied the manuscript. We're not even sure it's really language at all, since it's so far outside our linguistic paradigm. Though it looks like it means something, we'll only truly know if someone translated it. It may be, after all, just a medieval nonsense joke. I mean, I didn't know this existed. That's the end of the tale. I didn't know it existed. It is the images of the book make it seem like it's, you know, this is a planned out thing. I wouldn't spend time trying to figure this out.
I enjoy knowing about the Voynich Manuscript, so if I ever come into a conversation with someone who's a cryptologist or whatever it is,
Yeah.
then I can casually make a Voynich Manuscript joke.
Yeah. Anyone that studies language.
That's kind of how I live my life, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think the only other thing in my head, not much, is like a cryptologist needs to lay out like some ground rules for cryptology and then give it to someone dumber.
Mm-hmm.
So like, hey, give me a sandbox to play in and some basic rules to follow and then give it to me and let me see what I can do.
Dude, that's what I was thinking. When I was reading this, I was like, there's like, I don't know, linguists. I think someone who's not in this field
right
would have a better chance of deciphering it because it's probably too outside the box.
If it's been here for this long and nobody's gotten it.
Yeah.
Well, his explanation for why they couldn't solve it was because it doesn't follow any of the rules. Well, it's like, yeah, that's why you can't solve it because
Right.
you're looking at it the way that every other language you know is structured.
Noah, what do you think it is?
I think it's a constructed language. It's too intricate and well planned out to be a hoax. And I think it's like a combination of a constructed language and a language that like just a small amount of people knew. And this is the only surviving piece of those people. And also taking into account, I mean, it's the Italian Renaissance. It's like lots of new ideas are coming forward. People are like meeting in clusters and proposing new ideas. So this could be kind of the result of that. And just by coincidence, any other writings in this language were lost.
Is this around when Da Vinci was alive?
Literally no idea.
Do we?
Because he was doing shit.
fair.
He was doing shit that's like.
Are you just saying that because Da Vinci Code is a thing that's coming to your mind?
No.
Well, I mean, the inventions that he was inventing. No.
Right at the same time, yeah. Yeah.
Well, Da Vinci was like he was doing stuff that he like invented like a bird that could fly and like threw it in the sky and it flew around. Like he invented shit that was outside the realm of where he lived, which this kind of seems like some shit he would do.
I think it's just that Renaissance era too.
That's what I was saying
Do
when he
we
said
know? So we don't know the author of this, right?
Who wrote the book? No.
Correct, because we only know the seller, Voynich, who, by the way, that's fallen into some pig shit, huh?
Yeah, it's named after him.
Guy just owned a bookstore and he's getting credit for like the biggest code ever.
The Honus Wagner baseball card that's worth millions and millions is now called the Gretzky Honus Wagner because Gretzky owned it. Like it's official. It's kind of the same thing. Like how's Gretzky tied in there? How's Voynich part of history just because he bought it?
Jim, I disagree with the claim that it shouldn't be looked into though, because like I think even if it is like a joke and like we gotcha or it means nothing, like I think that the why was it made in the first place, even if it doesn't give you the meaning of life, it's like if you uncover a tribe, old pyramids underneath layers of dirt, like you might not find anything that's going to change how we live, but you got to look into it.
I'd say like, hey, every linguist out there, if you want a side hobby, do it. I don't think we should be funding researchers to try and crack this book.
That's fair.
There is a chance that this is a joke, and I think that's where I'll disagree on that, is let's find out, because if it is, arguably one of the best jokes ever.
Oh, yeah. I'm hoping this was a troll. It's like a, Andy Kaufman type thing.
It's up there.
It'd be great.
What if this was Voynich?
That's what I was just going to say.
Right?
Yeah. Has this been reprinted? Like, did someone have to, like, retype all the, or, like, make a new, you know what I mean? It's not even a keyboard.
Like 1,000%. No internet.
No internet for me either. You'd have to if this book is printed, the process.
I'd like to get one in the office.
The process.
Maybe this is a giant sales thing.
Oh, the process to reprint this book has to be nuts. The characters don't exist. You literally have to invent like.
Well, no, because it'd be. You could do it pretty easily nowadays. Because a painting doesn't exist. You just print it on a piece of paper.
But someone would have to.
It's like a copy and paste.
Oh, I don't want that.
You just scan it.
Yeah.
It's like how a scanner works.
But that would be a book of pictures of the book. Like a fresh printed book would be cool.
You want someone going through and freshly mimicking.
Yes.
I mean, that seems unnecessary.
That's what I'm saying. I want it would be so much.
I mean, technically every book is done the way that I'm suggesting.
No.
So you have a version of To Kill a Mockingbird. Did someone go and rewrite it?
Yes. Are you serious?
Does he know what we're talking about?
You think that the books are just pictures of other books scanned and then pasted? They're retyped. Someone retypes every book, and then they format it into the font.
When it goes into a printing press, and they just print gobbles of them.
Yeah, but the first version is...
Right, but we've already got the first version. If we're trying to get these out, if we're ordering one for the office, it's just going to be on a printing press.
But you can't do that.
I understand both of your sides. I'm kind of jumbled at the moment.
You need to get it into a computer
Noah?
first.
Sure. And yes, you could scan it.
But then it would just be a picture book. What you're describing is just a picture book.
Maybe this is.
Jake is giving you a solution, but you need it to happen in a scenario where the person has to do. So
I don't want a picture book.
But you wouldn't notice.
But it technically is. How do you know it's not already? It could already be a picture book.
I was following this argument for like a minute, and now I'm so lost.
Because you would see like the pages bleed through, and you would see all of that, and it would literally be a cropped picture on a book. It would be like it would.
We have a book now.
You're saying you want this. Exactly what you're saying. I'm saying I want this. So that's a great example. This is what you're saying. This is what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm saying the same thing. I guess we could have one person do it once and copy it
Then,
to get
yes.
the background out.
Yes.
That was a really good find that there's
It's a good
side-to-side picture.
Yes.
It's a good example.
Okay.
Still saying the same thing.
What? Would you need this? You need a guy to put it into a computer to
Okay,
get this.
I agree with that.
And then
I thought we were fast forwarding past that.
Jake
No.
was worried about the sales process. He was
Yeah.
like, how do we get the most out right
Like
now?
the one that we would be ordering for the John Boy Media office does not have to be written out by a human.
It just needs to. I want it to look like this. I
Yes.
don't want every page.
We
to
we already jumped past that step.
And that was last. That was,
That was
the
last in the
No,
past.
that's little laughs.
All right.
That was not laughs from the past. That was little laughs.
Yeah.
So before we end, Jimmy, I was thinking there's probably one person that could actually translate this book in history. Do you know who it is?
No. Who?
Think about it. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Come on.
Come on.
Shelby Foote.
Mo Berg.
Yeah.
Wow.
Moberg probably wrote this. stupid
Moberg
book.
tried.
Yeah.
Moberg tried.
Moberg had he had his own written out version in his pocket. Like, I'm gonna figure this shit out. I spent hours just
Mo
transferring.
Berg speaks Voynich Manuscript.
He probably
No, we
does.
didn't talk about, and we're running a little. Actually, we're not running too long. The fold-out pages didn't get discussed a lot, and so I just Googled it and I searched
Like
PDF
a poster in
and
a
stuff.
magazine. I'm
Like
guessing.
yes, like some of them,
Mm-hmm.
like some of the pages just casually fold out like a poster, and it's like okay.
Yeah, because when we first heard about this, my dream scenario was that like they found out who it was, and it was just like the illiterate maid that they wouldn't let her learn how to read or teach. And she's like, yeah, I just started
figured
doing my
something
own
out.
language. But then when they said it's like very handcrafted, specific, the amount of characters and how much they repeat, it's like, oh no, this is like something real. It's not just scribble. So the fact that they're putting pages like that in it too.
That page seems like a joke.
Could be.
Yeah. It's a hoax.
Could be.
All right. That was Little Laughs. Thanks, guys. See ya.